Hi there, traders, and welcome to Trade the Structure. Now, we've got the morning recap, the morning US market recap, or the morning Jumpstart Macro View, I call it. So we're going to go over the markets and the market action from overnight, and we'll start off with the XJO, which is the ASX 200, and that was from yesterday. So we'll look at the action from yesterday. We'll take a look at a couple of numbers that come out too in the US and what we're going to expect going forward. I just got those up there. So you had data-wise yesterday, we didn't have a hell of a lot. Had Canadian GDP, which I don't really look at a hell of a lot. But we had ISM manufacturing in the US. That was early hours of the morning, and that come out slightly better, if in line with anything. Jobs openings come out slightly better than expectation, better than previous as well. So it's keeping that pressure on to the upside for inflation expectations. Um, and that's why you will see bonds sort of hovering around those lows. And the biggest number, well, tonight in the US, you've got the precursor to the non-farm payrolls on Friday, the ADP non-farm employment change. That's just before the US opens tonight. But yeah, they can have a bit of a movement. They've got to be right out of whack to give the market a bit of a nudge, but more and more often, they're way off the mark. Okay, so once the proper number comes out on Friday, it shows that that number's kind of out of whack, and it's relatively new. So traders do look at it, but don't take a massive position on the back of that number because they generally come out quite wrong compared to the Friday's data. So that's sort of the big ones we're going to be keeping an eye out. If you're trading the Hang Seng, the Asian market session, which we're just going into now, Hang Seng's actually closed, so we're just going to be looking at the ASX 200 and for any opportunities and trades on that, and any trades on maybe the Nikkei. And then later on, we get stuck into Europe and the US session. All right, so starting off, you can see we were talking about this yesterday, this level on the ASX 200, flashing down through there. So we had a short through here, took some off in that 7,200 and took the rest off just in here. Could have got a better price, but that's the way it goes. The market's spiked down and come straight back up. So we're talking about this yesterday, reclaiming that level around 6,900, back above there, and seeing if we can grind higher. Now it's into the anchor. This is the anchor to that down move. You've got these little anchors on the way down. It's into the anchor now around 70.41 or 70.40, and it's just reacted off there yesterday. Expected it to be a positive enough open today that it could push through, but it's just whether it can consolidate above that and continue on up, or whether it sort of flushes and then starts to head back down again. Okay, so that's something we're going to be keeping an eye on today and in coming days as well, especially into Friday. So obviously, I don't think our market's going to get too excited before that US payroll number. So let's look at the S&P, the big S&P. So it's at that level still. Not a big session. So most of the session, you can see the open. Open was here. It sort of flushed down, chopped around, went sideways, and then pumped up. Okay, it was only in the last hour or so of trade where the market bounced. Okay, the rest of the time it was just choppy, and it was just choppy below that level. And I'd suggest that there's still that bit of, there's not a lot of bullish action, committed bulls at the moment. Yeah, the market's going up, but indices are made to go up anyway, so they can drift higher just through pure fund buying. They've got to buy because of their mandates. They could just tick higher, but I'm sort of looking at this zone still as a bit of a problem. You could be looking up to 45.87, but I don't expect it to get out of hand before Friday night's number. Okay, because if that comes out really strong, employment number comes out really strong, that's going to put pressure on the interest rate rise narrative a bit more. Okay, and in turn, I would expect that to put pressure on the downside. Because they're talking about potentially 4 rate rises this year in the US. It could open the window for another one, or to bring them forward. So we'll have to wait and see. But I don't expect this market to get out of hand prior to that. Okay, look at the Dow. The Dow's, we had a level where it could have held up here. It's just consolidated and then just spiked up into the finer hours. So it's up into that area around the 35,500 thereabouts. Just this zone through here, and there's a gap close zone, only a small gap close. Potentially it could push up to 35,671, but that there, it is only a couple of hundred points, so it could easily do that tonight and then back off Thursday night into the Friday's number. But I would expect a bit of a flush of that zone, at least probably a bit of a spike higher, because momentum's up at the moment. You can see this longer term momentum drifting up. Short term's just swinging between positive and negative. But for now, I'm just watching to see how it reacts at that area. So when we're trading at night, it's mainly short term. We know that there's a big zone up there. It could either just plow straight through, or it could react down and off that level. So we've got to prepare for both scenarios. The Nasdaq, we still got that zone we're looking at around 15,200, thereabouts 150. This zone through here, it's still pushing higher, and it's finding some, again, it found some buys into the close. A bit of bargain hunting still, I'd suggest, off this big move down. Still, a lot of people think the bull market's completely intact. I'm not a big believer of that. I think this longer term trend up this channel has broken, so it's just a matter of till something could trigger another move to the downside. I would expect. I don't think that it's the free money's disappeared at the moment because we're looking at rate rises. So, the cost of debt's going up, and some of these heavily indebted companies, which have taken advantage of low rates to grow, have probably, they're running a bit thin at the moment, and I would expect that the tables to be turned on that as well. So some profit taking basically, for this massive bull market. And that Nasdaq, which is, kind of the leader, it's like I said, that channel up is broken. So it's a matter of just, what do we go sideways from here, chop around, and just get, catching some bulls in, drag them in, squeeze them back out, drag them in, squeeze them out, or do we just completely topple over? Okay, it's yet to be seen. I don't expect that to start trending all the way back up again. Look, it could test into this zone at 16,500. Yep, I think that's a big ask at the moment. Okay, look at the European markets. DAX is still sort of floundering. It's see the open was about here. It gapped up on the open, flushed straight back down again, but that was pretty much the highs for the session. All right, so it's holding them off this level on the DAX. The DAX index at say 15,530 or thereabouts. It's holding above that. If it can consolidate, great. Then you'd look to the momentum to weaken, and then once it sort of consolidates, momentum start to lift again, it could rally from there. Or what we'd be looking at more likely, coming to the US Friday number. I mean, if Friday's number comes out strong, like I said, I would expect these indices to cop it a bit, and that could be a lower high. I still expect in the US and European markets to be a bit more cautious into that number. So that's Europe. Europe's holding through this level. This is the FTSE, holding through around 75.30 to 40, up to probably around a 75.40 zone. You can see it's traded off that zone before, pushed through, consolidated just above it, took off, traded through, retested from underneath, had this big sell-off, come back into it. So it's a clear zone that it could react down and off. At the moment, we're just looking, this action for me is more sideways. It's getting a bit choppy up here. This could be your key lower high, but again, we just have to wait and see how that plays out. It could just start to, this is what I'd ideally be looking for, a lower high off that level, and that could be, good selling to the index, to the FTSE index. So go on the XJ, let's look at the dollar index. So we're talking about this coming off last couple of days, probably a bit deeper than what I thought, but it is still down in this zone through here. It's around 96, 20, 25, so above 96. It's just testing into that level. So it's a bit of an unwind of those long positions that have been built up for quite a while now, so which you would expect. And that's a bit of an unwind coming into that number on Friday too. Some bigger positions, position long, a bit of a squeeze up, that sort of topping pattern there, and then we start to get those lower highs rolling down. And we're talking about that breakdown through this level. It was pretty obvious what was happening. It's just where are we going to start to pull up short? So for me, I'll just be watching this US dollar around this area. If that starts to hold, we start to extend through, then it's about, that trend sort of move down, pushing into there and down. Don't write off anything. I don't think the US dollar is going to get smacked, but you've got a plan sort of for all scenarios. Now, if this starts to perk up through that level, that's the kind of action I'd be looking for. You want to see that broken, first pull back. If it sticks, then it's up and away again. We're looking to those highs. Euro, it will depend largely, obviously, on what the US dollar is doing. If the US dollar starts to find some strength, it's the same sort of thing but inversed. If it starts to find some strength in the dollar, expect the euro to hold this 112.72 area. It could flush through, like it just flushed in there, come straight back down. So if the second time it starts to fail, I'd be looking for, on the euro, the shoulder trade again, or that lower high to trade into. Now the pound is, it's come up into a zone up here at 135.20, thereabouts. It's traded off that before, so it's retraced all that move, all this leg down. So it's quite a strong move to the upside. It's just whether it can break up through here. I would expect with this kind of price action, maybe a flush, a good grind down and get a good high low to work off. More, not just a tiny one like this, but more something that's going to press down, good pattern there, and we can work off some higher lows. We can work off this high low or this major high low as the trend starts to evolve to the upside. All right, so that's all I'm really looking for. I just want to see there could be a short-term trigger. Remember on the 30-minute charts, could be looking down to the 5-minute for a shortened opportunity off this level. But I think that that trend up is well established on the 30. You need something. You need a good lower high to be able to short that off. Okay. Sorry, gone to the euro. So over to the Aussie. That's powered on. Okay, we had a big sell-off there. It's powered up. I think a lot of it will be positioning because some strength into the Aussie because of the RBA rate rises. Yeah, we've had the US dollar's been weak, which has obviously been supportive of that move up in the Aussie. But I think also there's a lot of expectation that the RBA will be forced, because inflation's high, it will be forced into rate rises sooner rather than later. What they said, they was talking about 2024, potentially 2023. Analysts are saying 2022, mid this year to August this year. Okay, so they're a lot more bullish on rates than the RBA are, and you can understand why with our housing market, why the RBA don't want to raise rates or put any pressure on the housing market, or it could just pop. All right, but we'll see how that goes. So for me, this Aussie, I'm not really looking to trade that. I think it's extended up here. I want a decent pullback into this zone and then start to get a high low off there, or this could just grind the way back up to 71.73. We'll see how that goes. US yen, we're looking at shorting that off a lower high, and that played out really nice. There's mainly this zone through here. We were talking about that yesterday as well. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, we were talking about that level yesterday. It flushed through there, the previous session, come back up, retest it. That held. It's a good little flush off there, and then we started to get lower highs coming in. Okay, so it's further strength in the US dollar. Now, it's just dependent on whether the US dollar wants to rally or not, or it's going to find some strength again, whether maybe this inside level could hold. All right, it's at 114.50 thereabouts. But we'll see. Gold. Gold, we're talking about this drifting high. I thought yesterday, a big sell-off into a zone, into that 1780 to 90 area, and it reacted up and off that. So as soon as you sort of see this flush below, start to pick up, hold this inside higher low, then you're looking for a potential drift, and you just got to look out to see where to. Okay, into that lower high was at 1799, and it flushed up through there. So okay, we could get a bit of a pullback of this move, a bit of a corrective phase before we head lower, or this could be the start of something bigger. I think it could drag in some buyers. Now, if we flush down quite hard and hold a higher low, a key high low, then maybe something like this, then that could be a good opportunity, because then all of a sudden we're not with these little bits, but we're looking at that as a move potentially. Okay, if that's the case, if we start forming a lower high, just that volatility projection, good flush, start to hold and then go, but up again off that 1780 to 90 area. Crude. Oil, not doing too much. It's just chopping around. We spoke about this yesterday. Price is going sideways while the momentum's easing. If momentum can ease further and price continues to go sideways, that's bullish for me, and you just be looking for a higher low like we were talking about yesterday. It's flushed in that area. That area at 86.50s continue to get supported. If it can just keep chopping around and you find that sooner or later that momentum will lift, then I would expect to be working off higher lows and see if it can push into that 90.92 area. Copper had a good level. We spoke about that had a good night last night. Not a good level, but it's working off a good level. So we spoke about that the last couple of sessions. To chop around here, if that starts to stick, you'll be looking for a higher low to work off. That move up, once it started to break through these highs, you can see it got through these highs into here, held the higher low. That's a nice level if you're trading intraday. You're looking at 30. You've got good momentum in your wings, under your wings with this move up. Pick off the higher low and see if you can drop it down to, say, a lower time frame chart, just to see if you can get that nice entry and you get a nice expansionary phase up. Okay, so that's copper. Now, just looking at bonds again, not much to talk about. Short-term bonds just essentially going sideways, so yields are really contained after that big, rally in yields, which is a sell-off in bonds. That rally in yields, they're still getting contained, flush down. We'll see how they go tonight and the next couple of sessions into the US payroll number. 10 years. They had a bit of a lift, so it was a bit of an easing in yields, and then yields spiked up again. Okay, I think that was more to do with some numbers overnight, and they'll be watching the numbers tonight and then coming into Friday for a bit of a heads up whether, okay, maybe 4 rate rises they're factoring in, maybe that's too much this year, or maybe they need more. We'll see. If they get confirmation of a really strong economy, then that you probably expect that yields to rally and the bonds to start heading south again. Longer term bonds, like I said, I'm not too worried about it. It's mainly the 2s and the 10s in the US. All right, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, if you can leave us a like at the end of the video, if you enjoy what you saw, if you agree with me, great if you can follow us also. And then remember to check out the YouTube channel and check out the website at tradethestructure.com. There's a lot more free information. You can sign up and away you go. Okay, it's all free. We're just trying to build a community. So feel free to jump on that, have a look around, and jump on our social media icons. give me a hit. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll speak to you soon.